أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء وخاتم المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين واللعنة الدائمة الباقية لأعدائهم من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم: وكذلك جعلناكم أمة وسطا لتكونوا شهداء على الناس ويكون الرسول عليكم شهيدا. صلوات عليك. It is a Thursday night program, but the day that just ended with Maghrib was the day of the wafat of our fifth Imam, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salatu wassalam. Keeping that in mind, I wanted to share with you two or three events from his life, more as a lesson for us, for myself as well as yourselves. When it comes to this concept about the Imam of the time, Hazrat Dhu Al Hijjah Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajuhu Sharif, where we in Shia Islam, we believe that the Imam of the time is Hazir and Nazir. Hazir means he's there. He's not somewhere on the fourth heaven, the way Isa ibn Maryam is also alive, but not in this dunya. And when we say Nazir, we mean that he is aware of what we do. When we ascribe this privilege or the honor to the Imams of Ahlul Bayt, immediately we get this accusation that how can you give a status or the power to human beings which is reserved for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who knows everything at all the times. This is where I would like to just very briefly, I'll try to stay within the half an hour that we do normally for Thursday nights. We have to keep in mind that when we talk about such issues, there are two different ways of looking at things. One is horizontal way and one is the vertical form. If you place Allah and Rasul and the Imam on the same line, and you say Allah can see everything, and then you say Rasul can also see everything, or the Imam can also see everything, by themselves, by the power which is inherently in them, then we are putting Allah, Rasul and Imam on the same line. That would be shirk. But if you look at the same process in a vertical line, where the actual power is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but He can give certain powers to certain individuals. That it is by His will and by His decision. Well, Allah can see everything because that is His power essentially. Whereas Rasul and Imam can see everything not by themselves, but because of the power given to them by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The power of Allah is essentially from His person. He is independent in what He is doing. What Rasul and Imam can do is actually dependent on the will and the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That wouldn't be shirk. You look at Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala quotes Isa ibn Maryam saying, Ana uhyi wa umit. In a sense that, I can give life to a dead person. And there are miracles, everybody agrees. And this is where we see that when he say, I can give life, Allah can give life, and Isa ibn Maryam also can give life. But there is a difference. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives life because that is essentially part of His power and His person. Isa ibn Maryam is giving life bi'idhnillah. with the power given to him by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when we talk about this concept for the Imams, that they are aware of what we do, it's not that we are putting them on the same level as divinity and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no. And I'll just give you, one ayat from Quran, Surah Baqarah. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, addressing the Muslims in general, that's the apparent meaning of the ayat, but we'll come to the reality there. وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا. And we have made you, referring to the Muslims, a middle nation, a middle ummat. For what? So that لِتَكُونُ شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ. So that you, the Muslim ummah, will become shuhada, witnesses over the people of your own time. The question is the ummah really capable of testifying about the people of their own time? Individually we can't. Even collectively we don't have that capacity. The same Sharia which says when it comes to shahadat and giving testimony, Allah says you have to see something before you can see, yes, I saw this person killing the other. And on the day of Qiyamah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He says the Muslim ummah during their own time are going to be, witnesses for the people of their time, this is not a possibility. Individually, we don't have that capacity. Even collectively, we don't have that capacity. We don't even know what the person next door or the next house does. What power do I have on the day of Qiyamah to stand up and, testify against that neighbor? And even collectively, we don't have that ability. And this is where you will see that the tafsir of the Ahlul Bayt is different. It doesn't refer to the ummah collectively. It is talking about certain chosen individuals of the ummah in every era, referring to the imams of the time. They are the one who will testify on the day of Qiyamah about the people of their own time. Because look at the next sentence. وَيَكُونُ الرَّسُولُ عَلَيْكُمْ شَهِيدًا. That the Rasul will then on the day of Qiyamah will testify in favor of the witnesses. So during every era there will be people who will stand up in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they will say that the people during my time did this and that. And a Rasul will stand up and he will say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I testify that he is true in his testimony. It means even a Rasul after his wafat is capable of seeing things. I know Wahhabis don't agree with that. But how can Rasul be the shaheed on the day of Qiyamah? Shaheed here means witness. How can he be a witness in favor of the witnesses on the day of Qiyamah if he is not capable of knowing what is happening? He is the supreme witness there. For every era there will be someone, the Imam of the time, who will testify that during my time this is what the people did. Then the other Imam will come and say, during my time this is what the people did. And Rasul will testify there in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I testify that they are all true in what they are saying. And so we will have to accept that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given that capability to Rasul, whether he is alive or dead, and to the Imams of the time to have this ability to know what the people of their time are doing. And if you look at that, even if you look at the tafsir of this ayat done by Allama Tabatabai, because sometimes when we say such things, they say, these are all probably Indo-Pakistani ideas. No. Even Allama Tabatabai in Al-Mizan explains it in that way. And so this is not exaggeration, this is not a ghulu. We are talking about the ma'asumeen. हर Every Imam of his time will testify on the day of Qiyamah, because Allah has given them the power to be witness about the people of their own time. And a Rasul will come and testify in favor of the testimony of the Imams of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam. Salawat. This is Surah Baqarah, number 143. So just two or three examples from the life of our fifth Imam. This is just a reminder for us that when we talk about the Imam of the time, it's not only, reciting the dua for his safety. It is really keeping this concept in mind that he is there. Not only he is, according to probably it was Muhaqqiq Tusi, who said his ghaybat is not because of him, it's because of us. Some scholars actually put it slightly different. They say it's not him who is ghaib, we are ghaib from him. There is a veil over our eyes and mind. We don't have this, capacities to see him because of our own actions. And so when we look at these stories of the fifth Imam, we have to realize, when we talk about ourselves, we are talking about the Imam of our time. Ajjalallahu ta'ala faraju sharif. Salawat. There was a person by the name of Maysar. One day he came to the house of the Imam. Look at the audacity and the, what we call, jur'at of some of the people. When he knocked on the door, a maid came and opened the door. Apparently, this is not in the wordings of the narration, but it seems, the context of the narration is that this fellow looked at her, and this is where shaitan overpowered him. Temptation comes in. There are two different narrations. I am using the milder one. He actually caught a hold of the hand of that girl and says, go to your master and say, it is so and so has come to see him. There's no need to do that. There's no need to hold or touch that girl. She is not mahram to you, and you have absolutely no right to do that. But this is where, temptation of the shaitan comes in. So even at that moment, he wanted to take this advantage there. As soon as he said to her, go inside, tell your master that so and so has come to see you, she didn't even have to go inside, because Imam from inside the house shouted in an angry voice that, O Maysar, udkhul la ablaka. And he was very angry. He used the term in a way cursing him. And then when he came inside, Imam says that if you think that the wall can prevent me from seeing what you were doing on the other side of the wall, then what would be the difference between us and you? This is where you have to realize. Don't consider this wall to be a barrier for me to know what you are doing. Aren't you ashamed of what you had done? Otherwise, you and me will be equal. And so this is one example that Imam is saying that, the wall does not prevent me from seeing what is happening on the other side. Salawat padhne ek baar aur. Another individual, and I'm not sure at the moment, based on his name was Abu Basir. He was a very prominent companion, whether it's the same one or someone else. But this is a person very well known in Kufa, and he also used to teach people Quran. And one of the students he had was a lady. And one day when she came to learn the Quran from him, he actually joked with her in a way which was not appropriate. So it was just conversation. And this is where we have to realize, this is a teacher of the Quran. Somebody who is learned, and is not just teaching something, the language. He's talking about Quran. This is where we have to realize that when we talk about the issue of mahramiyyat, when we talk about the issue of hijab, when we talk about the issues of haya, these are very serious human conditions. Unfortunately, this society has become such that if we talk about it, immediately you get the level, oh, he's traditionalist, he's conservative, he's this and that. But these are real human conditions where we have to be very careful. Shaitan doesn't go to the clubs. He doesn't have to do anything there. Where would he go? He will come to the masjid. He will go to the Quran class. So shaitan doesn't have to go to all those places where we say, oh, don't go there, shaitan is there. The shaitan is not there. He is not to be found there. Shaitan is to be found in good places. This is what we do not realize. Because sometimes I use this term, especially when it comes to alcohol and things like that. He just puts them into their habit and they are on kind of autopilot. Destination is Jahannam, he doesn't have to worry about it. It's fixed. He goes after others. And this is where he comes now to Abu Basir teaching the Quran. Just conversation. He made a joke. Many times we take it very lightly, I'm a teacher, she's just my daughter. Oh, she's mahram. Therefore, we are told that in a room which is closed, especially if it is locked, and there is a man and a woman who are not mahram to one another, this is not allowed in the Sharia. These issues are taken very lightly, but now if you look at the situation, I remember attending one of the seminars run by the social services group, where they were talking about different situations, especially when we talk about volunteers in the community and what the law says. They emphasize especially this point that if you are talking with a minor, especially of the opposite sex, even as a teacher or a counselor, it should be in an open area or easily accessible by anyone. And then we come to realize, okay, now they are thinking about it. Now that they will say, according to their professional opinion, will say, yeah, this is what we should do. And the Sharia has been saying these things for last 1400 years. Because these kinds of situations can create, fitna, and that's where the shaitan comes in. So Abu Basir, he was in Kufa. And then, this is where we have to realize, when many times we say even about the mixed gathering and this and that. Now that I talked this much, let me talk even more. If you be angry, maybe, anger will increase, but it's already there. Mixed gathering. Sometimes I hear, Maulana, they are in hijab. In wedding ceremonies, even if they are in hijab, they are in the best of their form. Visible makeup itself is a problem. Even if they are in hijab, if there's somebody sitting opposite on the table, what are you going to do? You're going to look down all the time? No. It's better to have separate. Let the gents relax, let the ladies relax. They don't have to worry about their hijab. You don't have to worry about your hijab of the eyes. But no, hijab is there. Think about it. There's so many other things there involved that we do not think about. And so, this is Abu Basir now in Kufa, and this happens with him. After some time, he goes to Medina. In case of Maysar, it was outside the door, and Imam was inside the house. This fellow is in Kufa, and Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salatu wasalam is in Medina. He himself, narrates, he says, after some time I went to Medina, and he says, when I saw the Imam, as soon as I sat down, Imam rebuked me for that incident of joking with a non-mahram student of mine. He says, I was so much ashamed that I put my head down and I did istighfar, and Imam realized that, this is a mistake. He's the wise, he's a good person. And so Imam told him, do not ever repeat that. And this is where we come to realize that, when it comes to the Imam of the time, we should have that sense. For them, time and place doesn't become a barrier. They are aware of what we do. When we talk about the love for the Imam of the time, this is what should, reflect in our actions. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to understand the true status of the Imams of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam. Just one more incident before I go to the Masa'ib. This is a companion who says that I was there sitting in the gathering of the Imam when a person from Africa, when they use the word min ahl al-Afriqiyya, they're referring to North Africa, Egypt probably, or Sudan. A person came in who was obviously a Shia, otherwise he wouldn't be coming in to visit the Imam. And Imam, it seems, knew him. And once the greetings had been over, then Imam asked him, Ma halu Rashid? How is Rashid? So Rashid was somebody who lived in Africa and from the Shias of Amir al-Mu'mineen. And this traveler says, خَلَفْتُهُ حَيًّا صَالِحًا يُقْرِئُكَ السَّلَامِ. When I left Africa, he was alive, he was well, and he conveyed his salam to you. Imam said, Rahimahullah, may Allah have mercy on him. In Arabic, when you say Rahimahullah, this is actually a dua for somebody who has passed away. Sometimes some of our people, when they introduce the ulama, well, I'm just talib ilm, out of respect they say Sayyid Muhammad Rizvi rahimahullah. They don't realize that some of these Arabic words have their own time and place. Yes, rahimahullah means Allah's mercy be on him, but you normally is used for the people who have passed away, or aad Allahu maqamuhu. When they talk about some of the great manaji, he was talking about a living marja, and he says, aad Allahu maqamuhu. I told him, this means may Allah elevate his status. You're not talking about this dunya, you're talking about his barzakh or akhirat. And so Imam, when he said rahimahullah, he didn't have to say anything else. This traveler was also an Arab. He knew the language. So he immediately asked, Mata? Did Rashid died? And Imam said yes. So now the traveler is asking the Imam, Mata, when did he die? And Imam says, Ba'da khurujika biyawmain, 2 days after you left your town. Now remember, those days there was no telegram, no telephone, nothing. So he was surprised that I am the one who came from there, and I'm probably the only one who came immediately from there. There's nobody who came after me. And how does the Imam know that? And so Imam told him, Wallahi ma marada wa la kana bihi illa. He didn't die or anything. He just, إنما يموت من يموت من مرض أو إلا. people die. Sometimes because of illness, sometimes because of some other reasons. And when he left, now the companion who is narrating this, that I saw this, he asked the Imam, Man al-Rajul? Who was this traveler? And Imam says, Rajulun lana mawalin wa lana muhib. He is one of our followers. He is one of those who love the Ahlul Bayt. And then Imam realized why he is asking this question. Because the narrator now is actually more concerned about the latter part of the conversation. That he is the one who came from Africa. Nobody has come after him. How did you know that this fellow there died 2 days after this person left? And so without even him actually asking anything, Imam said, أَتَرَوْنَا أَنَّ لَيْسَ لَنَا مَعَكُمْ أَعْيُنٌ نَاظِرَةٌ وَأَسْمَاعٌ سَامِعَةٌ? Do you think that we don't have eyes to see what you are doing? Or our ears are not capable of, knowing what you are saying? بِئْسَ مَا رَأَيْتُمْ. It is very wrong that if that is your perception. وَاللَّهِ لَا يَخْفَى عَلَيْنَا شَيْءٌ مِّنْ أَعْمَالِكُمْ. By Allah, nothing from your actions are hidden to us. فَأَحْضِرُونَا جَمِيعًا. Everything is presented to us. We know about what you are doing. وَعُودُ أَنفُسُكُمُ الْخَيْرِ. Therefore, create this habit among yourselves to do good things. وَكُونُوا مِنْ أَهْلِهِ تُعْرَفُونَ. And be among those who are known to be good doers. فَإِنِّ بِهَذَا آمُرُ وُلْدِي وَشِيعَتِي. This is my command for my children as well as for my followers and my Shia. Salawat pढ़ने एक बार. And this is where Imam is saying that do not think that we don't have, the eyes which can see and the ears which can hear, even though they might be far away. And this is a special privilege and power that Allah has given to the Prophet and the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. چونکہ آج کا دن امام محمد باقر کے وفات کا دن تھا، اسی مناسبت سے کچھ باتیں ہم نے آپ کے سامنے پیش کی ہیں. بس امام کی ایک وصیت تھی، اس پر ہم مجلس کو ختم کرنا چاہیں گے کہ امام محمد باقر کربلا کے واقعات کے بعد جو اہم رول امام کا ہے، اس لیے کہ امام زین العابدین تو در حقیقت عزاداری سید الشہداء کے بانی ہیں جناب زینب کے ساتھ، لیکن خود امام محمد باقر نے بھی اس سلسلے کو اور مضبوط کیا ہے، اور خود وہاں آئی وٹنس تھے. امام 5 سال کے تھے واقعات کربلا میں، لیکن کم سنی کے باوجود جو امپیکٹ اور اثر کربلا کے مظالم کے جو امپیکٹ اور جو اثر ہوا ہے امام کے دل و دماغ پر، وہ آخر وقت تک باقی رہا. اور اس کا اندازہ اس بات سے ہوتا ہے کہ امام نے اپنی آخری وصیتوں میں چھٹے امام سے ایک وصیت کی تھی کہ دیکھو میرے مرنے کے بعد کچھ رقم ہے جو ہم نے الگ رکھی ہے اور اس کو ہم نے وقف کر دی ہے، اور یہ وقف اس لیے ہے کہ ہر سال حج کے زمانے میں منی میں کچھ لوگوں کو خواتین جو نوحہ و بکا کرتی ہیں ان کو امپلوئی کیا جائے اور اسی رقم سے ان کو ہدیہ دیا جائے تاکہ وہ منی کے 3 دن 10 سال تک ہر سال حج کے موسم میں مجھ پر نوحہ و بکا کریں، میری عزاداری کریں. منی کیوں؟ اس لیے کہ اس زمانے میں اگر آپ دیکھیں تو تنہا مسلمانوں کی سب سے بڑی گیدرنگ جو ہوتی تھی وہ منی میں ہوتی تھی حج کے زمانے میں، اور امام وہاں چاہتے ہیں کہ لوگوں کو اندازہ ہو کہ ہمارے ساتھ کیا ہوا تھا. لیکن یہ کیوں امام نے یہ کہا تھا؟ 10 سال تک امام پر عزا ہو، وہ بھی منی میں ہو، اس کے لیے باقاعدہ ایک رقم رکھتے ہیں، وقف کے طور پہ بیٹے سے کہتے ہیں. عجب نہیں ہے کہ امام کے ذہن میں اور آنکھوں کے سامنے جو مناظر تھے، جو اپنے بابا کی کیفیت کو دیکھا تھا انہوں نے کہ کس طرح سے حسین ابن علی کی شہادت کے بعد امام زین العابدین جب بھی رونا چاہتے تھے شمر ملعون تازیانے سے اذیت پہنچاتا تھا، یہاں تک کہ جناب زینب بھی ایک بار اسی قافلے میں کربلا سے کوفہ کی طرف ایک منزل آتی ہے کہ شمر نے اتنے تازیانے مارے ہیں کہ بی بی جو ہیں امام حسین علیہ السلام کے سر کی طرف دیکھتی ہیں، کہتی ہے بھائی کچھ جملے تو بولو، تم کچھ تو کہو تاکہ بیٹے کو تسلی ہو، اس لیے کہ جب وہ رونا چاہتا ہے تب بھی اس کے رونے کی اجازت نہیں دی جاتی ہے۔ عزیزداران حسین، عجب نہیں ہے کہ امام محمد باقر علیہ السلام کو آخر وقت تک اپنی چھوٹی پھوپھی جناب سکینہ کے وہ مناظر بھولے نہ ہوں گے کہ جہاں وہ جب بھی روتی تھی شمر تماچے مارتا تھا، اور انہی باتوں سے اتنے متاثر تھے کہ امام نے آخر وقت بھی یہ وصیت کی تھی کہ میرے مرنے کے بعد 10 سال تک مجھے یاد کیا جائے اور منا میں مجھ پر گریہ اور عزاداری کی جائے۔ الا لعنۃ اللہ علی القوم الظالمین سیعلم الذین ظلموا ای منقلب ینقلبون۔ خداوند اس قلبات قبول فرما، ہمارے گناہوں کو بخش دے، ہمارے توفیقات میں اضافہ فرما، امام کے ظہور میں تعاجل فرما۔ ربنا تقبل منا انک انت السمیع العلیم۔